Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Well, already our participants of our webinar are joining us today. Thank you so much for joining us today. Let's see, just some housekeeping. We have a Q&A option today at the webinar, as this series of webinars with ICF Global, designed by 7 chapters from Europe, Middle East, from Europe, that is Forum Europe 50. So that would be great if you could send greetings in Q&As or in chat. I would suggest in chat module, just letting us know from which country you are joining us. That would be, hello, Interluka from Latvia, Mirjana from Serbia. Yeah, I'm sorry, I can't be so fast as you. Georgia, Bulgaria, Estonia, Serbia. Thank you so much. Yeah, and we already have we have more than 125 registered attendees. Let's see how many people will join us. But we're already almost 50. I would suggest to start. And I'm really honored to introduce you to my colleague, Carrie Ebner, ICF Credentials and Standards, Family Organization Vice President. For me, it's always a pleasure to partner with Carrie and to listen to her presentation. I have no doubt, I strongly believe that you will be enjoying our Carrie's presentation today. And if you have any questions, please post them on chat on Q&A session, and we will try to answer to all your questions. Carrie, the stage is yours. The mic is yours.
Excellent.
And thank you so much for accepting our invitation, for finding time to join us today and to talk about the new core competency.
Absolutely, Ala. It's a great privilege and a pleasure to be here. Thank you for organizing this for us. Thank you for the invitation, and thanks to everyone who is tuning in today. I'm so glad to be joining you, and likewise, Ala, I appreciate that warm introduction, and it's always a pleasure to partner with you as well. So glad to be here. Thank you. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'm so glad to be here as part of this presentation today and to be able to share something that I get really excited about every time I get to talk about the updated core competencies. This has been a big part of my work experience over the last couple of years and several others throughout the organization. And we're just so excited to be able to share it with our community around the world. So thanks again for the invitation to be here with you. Now, I want to start by talking just a little bit about credentials and standards and the new ICF structure. This year, 2020, has been a year of firsts in a lot of ways. It's been a year like no other. I think we can all agree. There have been no shortage of challenges this year as we have navigated a global pandemic and figuring out how we work and how we work together in different ways, and understanding and responding to the many different impacts that the COVID-19 pandemic and other challenges have had on us individually, in our communities, our nation's world, and of course the coaching profession. We know that we have had so many different challenges to respond to this year. But I do think when we look back, when we look back in the annals of history, that one thing that we will remember is not so much the challenges, but the intense resilience with which we faced these challenges. And you all there in Forum 50 are a great example of that resilience. And I think the coaching profession in general has been such a wonderful example of resilience and the way that we've been able to to pivot and to respond to great challenges, and to help help clients of coaching also respond to the challenges that this year has presented. So I just want to take a moment to say thank you for that. And at the same time, 2020, despite the many challenges it presents, the resilience that it has required, it's also a year to celebrate in a lot of ways too. In 2020, for the International Coaching Federation in particular, it's a milestone year for us. This marks our 25th anniversary as the global organization for coaches and for coaching. And so we're celebrating this year, as many of you know, by unveiling an expanded organization with a new structure, a new leadership team, and so many more different programs and services that we're able to offer to coaches and to the entire coaching profession. So as we celebrate our past, we're also building and looking forward to the future for our organization and for the coaching profession, for members, for credential holders, and for their clients. So thank you for all that you're doing as part of this. This is a global effort, and thanks again for the chance to be here with you today. So as I mentioned, 2020 marks a milestone year, and we're celebrating with a brand new look and structure. We have transformed from the International Coach Federation to the International Coaching Federation, which is more than just a name change. It marks a transition into a new way of serving coaches, of serving coaching clients, and serving communities in the world as we accelerate the pursuit of our vision, which is to ensure that coaching is an integral part of a thriving society, and that every ICF coach represents the highest quality of professional coaching. So we're looking to achieve this big vision with the work of 6 unique family organizations that are listed here on your screen. Each organization has a dedicated board and resources to move its work forward. So no longer is a singular board and a singular organization trying to accomplish all that the coaching profession needs. We now have 6 organizations dedicated to doing this work across the world, which is very exciting. I am so pleased to be with you as a representative of ICF Credentials and Standards. And I work very closely, as Ala does as well, across our family of organizations, but with a singular focus, with a primary focus on credentials and standards. So really, really pleased to be with you today. So a little bit about ICF Credentials and Standards. Obviously, credentialing is not a new element within the ICF. This is something that we have been doing for nearly 25 years, and we're so pleased to be able to continue this important work, to recognize the professionalism, the high standards of coach practitioners all around the world. But this is a new way of doing it. Through a dedicated board and a dedicated organization, we're able to provide even more comprehensive services and support and higher standards for the coaching profession and to those who are seeking an ICF credential. So it's not a new program of ICF, but it's certainly a new way of providing this program that is so important, and we're so excited to be able to do it. ICF Credentials and Standards, within ICF Credentials and Standards, our goal is to deliver a best-in-class credentialing program. We offer robust, consistent, and fair credentialing processes to provide an assurance of quality to coaching clients, to motivate coaches to continue their professional growth and competence, and to deliver high-value credentials to the global coaching community. And why is this so important? Well, a number of reasons, but one of the primary reasons this is so important is that the coaching profession is not a centrally or formally or legally regulated profession. The ICF credential, however, provides coaches with a way to distinguish themselves as a coaching professional who is submitted to a combination of verified training, coaching hours, assessment, and compliance with the highest standards of practice. So in that way, it helps provide that quality assurance even though that the coaching profession is not a regulated field. It allows current and potential clients and broader communities that they serve to trust that when they hire a coach that holds an ICF credential, that they are hiring and working with a qualified coach. And it demonstrates a commitment to the maintenance of competence as required through the renewal process. As many of you know, each credential that we award, it is not a lifelong credential. Rather, it has to be renewed every 3 years. And it's renewed through demonstration and documentation of ongoing continuous professional development. And so it's a mark that assures clients that not only did the coach who holds a credential demonstrate competence and experience and high standards at the earning of a credential, but also that through maintaining it, that they are committing to ongoing professional development and growth. So that's a little bit about ICF credentials and standards and a baseline about the credentialing program that we offer and the importance of the standards that we hold. I'm looking forward to sharing with you today a little bit more about the updated core competencies, exploring some of the new elements of the updated core competencies, and how they'll be integrated into the credentialing program. I'm also going to share a little bit about the new ICF digital badging program and some of the benefits that that offers those who hold a credential as well as the clients that they serve. So let's just start by saying, how did we get here? As I joined you this morning, I mentioned that the project that led to the updated core competencies was a 2-year research initiative and has been a big part of my time here at the ICF over the last 2 years, as well as those of several of my dear colleagues. It's been a big project. It's taken a good bit of time to get here, but I want to provide a little bit of background and context on how we got here and why. So let's start by talking about the ICF core competencies generally. You know, the ICF core competencies were originally adopted in the late 1990s, so they've been with us for quite some time. They are the central tenets that unite professional coach practitioners in their work and across the globe, right? They were developed to support greater understanding about the skills, the knowledge, the approaches used within today's coaching profession as defined by the ICF. And they represent the common behaviors and skills used by trained professional coaches across the globe, regardless of their coaching style, where they're located, regardless of the discipline of coaching in which they practice, the context in which they serve, any of those things. These are the common elements that unite coaches in their practice. They are the foundation of practice for coaches, and they unite the coaching profession and the coaching community. You know, one of the ways that ICF distinguishes its credentials from other professional coach certifications is through the rigorous research that serves as the foundation for the competencies and, of course, of the credentialing process that we offer. So as many of you know, in November 2019, we completed a 2-year project, a research initiative called a coaching job analysis. And that is the research that really served as the basis and the foundation of the updated core competencies. Competencies that are rooted in research and that align with global standards for certification bodies. Through this research, we heard from more than 1,300 coaches around the world on the key knowledge, skills, and abilities that are essential for effective coaching. From start to finish, again, more than 1,300 coaches, both ICF members and non-members from around the world, participated in the process. And these coaches represent a diverse range of coaching disciplines, training backgrounds, coaching styles, experience, and credentialing levels. So it's really a culmination of the input of the entire coaching profession. No other coaching certification body has taken this level of research, and we are incredibly proud of the quality, integrity, and validity of our evidence-based approach to credentialing and to the value it brings to credential holders. So on this screen, you see a number of elements of the coaching job analysis. So the role of a job analysis is to identify the key knowledge, skills, and tasks performed by high performing job incumbents. So those who serve in any kind of profession, if they're doing a job analysis, the purpose of the job analysis is to identify the key knowledge, skills, abilities, and tasks performed by those trained and equipped to do that job well. So in this case, of course, we were looking at coaching. We use subject matter experts or coach practitioners to do this research. And that is, again, that is an expectation for job analysis projects, regardless of the profession in which they're conducted. So we pulled together, like I said, over 1,300 subject matter experts to provide input in various stages of this research initiative. It's global best practice for any kind of professional certification body to conduct a job analysis every 5 to 7 years. And the reason for this is that, you know, jobs, just like other things, evolve over time. So what may not have been necessary 20 years ago might be a really important element of any kind of profession today. And so it's best practice to update this job analysis every 5 to 7 years. You know, the last time that we did a job analysis was back in the late 2000s. So we were overdue to do this job analysis. And that's one of the reasons that we took 2 years to do this research, because we wanted to do a very diligent and in-depth job for this. And the result is a very data-driven, evidence-based process. So we were able to collect just a wealth of information and data points through this research, and again, through various stages of research that I'll talk about in just a minute, that served as the foundation for the updated core competencies. And again, this is the differentiating factor for us. Our research that serves as the foundation for the core competencies and for our credentialing program is so data-driven. It's rigorous, robust research. So let's talk a little bit about the different stages of the job analysis research. Again, we worked through subject matter experts or seasoned coach practitioners at every stage of this process. And that started out with a number of interviews that we conducted with individual subject matter experts who were extremely experienced coach practitioners. So those who had been serving in coaching and providing coaching for 10 plus years. We also conducted a series of in-person workshops. So we did 3 two-day in-person workshops around the world where we drilled down on certain types of questions to get specific types of information with subject matter experts. And these subject matter experts differed across the different workshops. So we didn't work with the same team of subject matter experts in each of these workshops. Rather, we included different subject matter experts in every workshop opportunity. And this is to get the most comprehensive type of input that we could. We started out with a workshop on that really asked the question, what are critical incidents in a coach practitioner's experience? So we pulled together, I think, about 16 subject matter experts. We held this workshop in the United States, and we asked, although the subject matter experts represented our global community, so they came from all over the world, and we asked them the question, what are critical incidents in your coaching experience? And when we say critical incidents, we don't mean negative experiences or negative incidents, but rather moments in your coaching experience that really were important to that coaching session, to that coaching engagement, to the work that you were doing with that client. And these experts pulled together nearly 300 critical incidents of coaching. We took that data and then we used that as the foundation for the next workshop panel on the specific essential tasks, knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics for coaching. We pulled together another group of about 15 subject matter experts. This one was conducted in London in the UK. And we asked them to identify, based on those critical incidents that were gathered in the first workshop, what are the key tasks, knowledge, skills, abilities, and other characteristics that are really essential for your coaching practice. That resulted in a lot more data that we were able to take and synthesize and use that for the final workshop panel, which was conducted in February 2019 here in the United States, but again with a global panel of subject matter experts to really take and see, based on these key tasks, knowledge, abilities, other characteristics, and skills, how does this impact the core competencies? What updates are necessary, if any? So that workshop was conducted in February 2019. In the midst of this, we also conducted a global survey, and many of you probably participated in this global survey. This was conducted in September 2018, where we took all of those different tasks, knowledge, abilities, and other characteristics that were identified by subject matter experts, and we asked survey participants, how important is this particular task, knowledge, skill, ability, or other characteristic, and how frequently do you use it in your coaching? We had, again, over 1,300 individual subject matter experts who responded to this survey. It was sent to around 41,000 people around the world. We had 1,300 people respond to this survey, which was a very big survey. It took a lot of time to complete. So it was a really great response that we had. And it provided really important information that we were able to use for this process, for this research. And then after we conducted that survey, I apologize for accidentally advancing there. After we did this survey, we took a lot of time to do the analysis work that eventually influenced the updates to the core competencies that were made. So what are some themes that we saw in this important research across all of these different phases of work? Well, one of the themes that we saw first and foremost was that ethical behavior and confidentiality are absolutely paramount for coach practitioners. You know, when we collected the survey data, the top 4 to 5 of every task statement, knowledge statement, skill statement, and other characteristics were all about ethical behavior and confidentiality. And wow, what an awesome statement from the coaching profession to say that above all else, we care, we are committed to, and we are dedicated to demonstrating ethical behavior in our practice. That's pretty amazing. Another theme that we saw was around the expansion of the coaching agreement. So if you look in the original core competencies, there is a core competency around establishing a coaching agreement, but it's more around the contractual piece of a coaching agreement with a client, between a coach and a client. In the data that we collected, as well as in the survey, as well as the data that we collected in the workshop panels, it became much more clear that there are different levels of coaching agreement. There is a contractual level of a coaching agreement. There is an agreement around the overall coaching plan. So what the client wants to achieve over the course of the entire coaching engagement or relationship. And then there's a third level of agreement that's really essential at the session level. So what is it that the client hopes to achieve in a given session? So that was another key theme. And of course, that really builds on some of the work that has been accomplished through the development of the PCC markers, which is a little bit more specific around these different levels of coaching agreement. Another key theme that we saw through the data, and again, it's also reflective of the influence of the PCC markers, is the enhancement of the partnership concept. So acknowledging that the client and the coach have equal voice and mutual accountability within a coaching relationship. We definitely saw a commitment to ongoing professional development and including reflective practice. So the importance of reflective practice as part of a coach's ongoing professional growth and development. And the final thing that we saw in the data that we collected across the research project was the importance of client context and culture. So, one of the reasons that I think we saw this, this theme, which is so important and is certainly reflective of larger social conversations that are very important and that are happening right now. One of the things that I think influenced this and allowed this theme to come to the surface is the global scope of our research. The fact that we had individual subject matter experts participating from all over the world and from a growing coaching profession. So coaches are now becoming much more prevalent in new markets, new parts of the world than they were, quite frankly, 10 years ago, the last time we conducted a job analysis. So this is really important information, and I'm so glad that we were able to capture that, collect it, and integrate that into the updated core competencies. So let's talk a little bit about the updated core competencies. The result of the research that we conducted found much more than anything that the original core competencies that were developed in the late 1990s are still absolutely relevant to coaching practice today. So that was one of the big headlines out of this. All of the concepts that are included in the original core competencies are still in the updated core competencies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. This is really a testament to those pioneers of the coaching profession who first outlined and articulated those core competencies back in, I believe it was 1998. They are still absolutely important and used every day in coaching practice. We were able to make some refinements to the core competencies, however, to streamline them a little bit more, to use more consistent language, and to also use language that is easier to understand and holds meaning across languages. Again, a reflection of the growth of the coaching profession across the globe. We were able to enhance the cohesion. We were very thoughtful around the structure of the language that was included in the updated core competencies. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment as well. But we were all able to do all of this while making the core competencies more succinct. So we went from about 1,500 words in the original core competency model down to just over 1,100 words in the updated core competencies. So now I'd like to take a little bit of time and look at the original core competency model versus the updated core competencies, just to show how they kind of map one to another structurally. Again, most of the updates to the core competencies were not to concepts or key elements of the core competencies, but rather to how they were structured and organized. So if you look at this chart, you'll see in the left-hand column the original core competency. And in the right-hand column, you'll see the updated core competency model. So if you look at the left-hand column here, you'll see the first core competency, meeting ethical guidelines and professional standards. And that maps very directly to what is still the first core competency in the updated model, demonstrates ethical practice. Now below that, you'll see what is probably the newest and most different element of the updated core competencies, which is a new competency on embodies a coaching mindset. This is the notion that a coach is committed to developing and maintaining a mindset that is open, curious, flexible, and client-centered. So this is probably the newest and most different element of the updated core competencies. And we'll talk a little bit more about this particular competency in a few moments. Okay, Moving on, in the top left-hand column, you'll see establishing the coaching agreement, which was the second core competency in the original model. This maps over almost directly to the updated competency 3, establishes and maintains agreements. And again, this updated competency has a little bit more detail in terms of the levels of agreement setting that are important in a coaching relationship. So that contractual agreement, the overall engagement plan for the engagement, and then the individual session agreement is included. But overall, this maps very directly from the original to the updated model. In the lower left-hand column, you'll see establishing trust and intimacy with a client. That maps over fairly directly to the updated core competency 4, cultivates trust and safety. So one of the things I mentioned just a few minutes ago is our emphasis and real focus on using language that has meaning across languages and translations and keeps that meaning for all professional coaches. This is a really good example. This particular competency is a really good example of some of that focus and intentionality around the language that we use. For many, establishing trust and intimacy may not have the same meaning that it holds in English when it's translated. And we found that that word intimacy was sometimes problematic when translated into other languages. So we updated this language to cultivates trust and safety, which is really at the core of what this competency is all about. Okay, we'll move on to updated core competencies 5 and 6. So if you look in the top left-hand column, the original core competency 4 is on coaching presence. Again, this maps over almost directly to the updated core competency 5, maintains presence. In the bottom left-hand column, you'll see active listening, the original core competency 5. In the updated model, this maps over pretty directly to core competency 6, listens actively. Now on this next slide, this is where it gets a little bit more interesting. And you see a few more squiggly lines and arrows going in different directions. So this is where the organization and structure of the competencies, the updated competency model, is a little bit different than the original core competency model. If you look in the left-hand column, you'll see core competency 6, powerful questioning, core competency 7, direct communication, and core competency 8, creating awareness. If you look at competency 6 and competency 8, they both have direct arrows that are going to the updated core competency 7, evokes awareness. Now this was became pretty clear in the data that we received throughout the research, both the survey as well as the workshop panels with subject matter experts, that powerful questioning is absolutely just as critical today as it has ever been in a coach's practice. However, the intention and the purpose of those powerful questions is precisely to evoke awareness in the client, to create awareness in the client. It is one of many tools, perhaps one of the most important tools, but one of several tools that a coach might use to help evoke awareness in the client. It is used alongside the use of metaphors, analogies, silence at times, a number of different techniques that can be used to help the client reach a new level of awareness. So both of these competencies, powerful questioning and creating awareness, were combined into evokes awareness. And alongside powerful questions and creating awareness, essential communication skills, what was kind of outlined in the original direct communication, was also important in this new competency, evokes awareness. However, as you'll see, coming out of that core competency 7, direct communication, you'll see a number of different lines coming out with different arrows moving in different directions. And that's because essential or effective communication skills is important element in every single competency that's listed in the updated model. So these elements of direct communication are included in Evoke's awareness, but they're also included in every other competency in the model. This is a really foundational piece of coaching practice, and therefore it has presence in all 8 of the core competencies. And finally, if we look on this slide, you'll see in the left-hand column, competencies 9, 10, and 11, designing actions, planning and goal setting, and managing progress and accountability. Those all have been combined in the updated core competency 8, facilitates client growth. And the reason for this is that all of those elements, designing actions, planning and goal setting, and managing progress and accountability, are all so interrelated. It's to help move the client forward. So to take the learning and awareness that they've achieved through the coaching so far and put that learning and awareness into action. All of this is included in a singular competency. This is also reflective too of the PCC markers and how those PCC markers are combined into a single kind of larger competency framework. So let's talk a little bit more about the content of these different competencies. I want to start by saying, and I'm just going to provide a bit of an overview because I want to make sure to allow plenty of time for questions and answers. But if we look at the updated core competencies, you can almost categorize the competencies into 2 big kind of areas. Competencies 1 and 2 are really about the being of the coach. So competency 1 demonstrates ethical practice, and competency 2 embodies a coaching mindset. It's about who that coach is, their dedication to being ethical, the dedication to demonstrating integrity and honesty in their coaching and their interactions with clients, their sensitivity to clients' identity, environment, experiences, values, and beliefs. The maintaining confidentiality with client information. Those are all about who that coach is. And then embodies a coaching mindset is at the core of that competency is about maintaining learning and growth, a commitment to learning and growth across a coaching journey, across a coaching career. It's not something that can be accomplished in any one moment in time. Rather, it is an ongoing learning journey that helps provide the coach the ability to stay open, curious, and flexible in their coaching through ongoing learning and development as a coach, through reflective practice, and through greater awareness across their coaching. So this is about the being of the coach. And if you look at competencies 3 through 8, establishes and maintains agreements, cultivates trust and safety, maintains presence, listens actively, evokes awareness, and facilitates client growth. This is more about the doing of coaching. So these are elements that you might more frequently see or observe within a coaching session itself. You're going to hear evidence around an agreement that the coach might make with a client in terms of their session goals. You might hear elements that show how that coach is cultivating trust and safety with the client through supportive comments and statements of support. You're going to see and hear how the coach maintains presence with the client in their listening actively. You're going to hear evidence of the questions or the metaphors or the analogies or the silence that a coach might use to help evoke awareness in the client. And you're certainly going to hear evidence of how that coach supports the client in planning for the use of that awareness and learning in action plans and goals for the future. This is all about the doing of coaching. So I want to take a few moments before we open up for questions and answers to talk about what do the updated core competencies, what do they mean? What's coming up in terms of their integration into the credentialing process, as well as, for instance, in training programs, et cetera. So one of the big things that ICF Global is working on now is assessment development. So updating our credential assessment process, primarily the coach knowledge assessment, to integrate the updated core competencies. This is something that we are actively at work on right now. We started almost immediately after we launched the updated core competencies in November. Just a few weeks after that, we actually had another workshop with subject matter experts to identify what we call an assessment or a test blueprint. And what that is the proportion of any kind of credential assessment, how it reflects the competency model. So the proportion of competency coverage within any given credential assessment. So that took place immediately after we published and announced the updated core competencies. Right now, we're in the work of actually developing and refining items or questions for the credentialing assessment. We will go through a period of testing, pilot testing, that new updated assessment, and to do what we call equivalency testing to make sure that what we are measuring in the updated assessment is similar to what we are measuring in the current coach knowledge assessment. So all of that work will continue over the coming months. We look forward to launching an updated credentialing assessment or an updated coach knowledge assessment in the second half of 2021. We're also working to update the PCC markers, and as chapter leaders, you may have received a communication about that. We are announcing and publishing the PCC markers in the next few weeks across our organization, but we are doing that incrementally. So that is another piece of work that we have been hard at work on over the last several months, and we've been able to do that on time despite all of the challenges presented this year, which is something that we're very excited and proud about. And we look forward to sharing the updated PCC markers with our entire community this month. Primarily, the updates to the PCC markers have been to align them with the new structure and organization of the core competencies, although we've also made a few refinements to make the PCC markers a little bit easier to use as well. So in terms of a transition timeline, as I mentioned just a minute ago, we look forward to launching the updated credentialing assessment or the coach knowledge assessment in the second half of 2021. Some of you may be engaged with or faculty within a training program. Training programs are also actively at work in integrating the updated core competencies into their training curricula. For those programs that are seeking a new accreditation, either ACTP or ACSTH, they will need to demonstrate the inclusion or the integration of the updated core competencies in any accreditation application submitted January 2021 or after. So that will be the deadline for new accreditation applicants. For those programs that have an existing accreditation with the ICF, they will need to show documentation of the integration of the updated core competencies in their curriculum as part of their renewal process. So that will start in 2021, but the timing may be dependent for each accredited program based on their renewal cycle. And before we open up to questions and answers, I also wanted to share what has been really exciting for us this year, something that we were able to launch in late April, early May, with our entire credential community across the world with our new digital badges. As you'll see here on this screen, you'll see the new digital badges for the ACC, PCC, and MCC levels that are available as a free offer for any individual who holds an ICF credential. And this is one of the ways that we are trying to really promote and help ICF credentialed coaches promote themselves on social media, on their websites, in their blogs, any number of ways with these digital badges. And it allows clients to be able to click on those and to see the specific achievements, what the coach had to do to earn that credential, as well as the validity of that credential in terms of the expiration date, whether the credential is active or whether a credential has perhaps expired. It adds a quality assurance to coaches and to the clients that they serve. And it makes it harder, much harder, if not impossible, for coaches to use fraudulently, because each digital badge is tied to that individual credentialed coach. So it makes it so much harder for a coach to present themselves as an ICF credentialed coach if they do not in fact hold an ICF credential. You know, that's one of the big challenges that we've had over the years, is that ICF credentials are highly coveted, right? It's a high standard to meet, and therefore that holds a lot of value for individual coach practitioners, those who hold an ICF credential, but also those who want to have an ICF credential. With the ICF credential logos, it was so much easier for individuals who did not hold a credential to find a copy of that logo file and to post it on their website, include it in their email signature, or use it in other ways fraudulently. The new digital badges add a security level to our credentials that we are really proud of, and that we hope credential holders are proud of as well. We've also provided a number of resources to help credential holders in how to use, adopt, and start sharing their digital badges online. Like I said, they can be used on social media posts, and social media profile pages. They can be used on websites. They can be used in blog posts. They can even be used within an email signature. It makes it very easy for a coach to share with the world that they are a proud ICF credentialed coach. And it makes it so much easier for clients to be sure that they are working with a highly qualified coach that meets the highest global standards. So these are some resources to help individual coaches. And, you know, as chapter leaders, I know you all have been a wonderful resource of information and serve as ambassadors for the digital badge adoption among those members of your chapters. So thank you for all the work that you have done in this effort over the last several months. We've been so pleased to see how warmly embraced the digital badges have been within our community, and we know you're a big part of that. So thank you for that, and also know that there are resources available on our website to help coaches who want to adopt their badge and start using them. So with that, I'm going to stop here and open the floor for questions. And Ala, I don't know if those are coming in through chat or how you'd like to, or the Q&A field, however you'd like to do the questions and answers.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much. And it was incredibly interesting to listen to your presentation. I'm sorry, this is not my first, but I'm always enjoying, and I'm always finding new thoughts, ideas, and new findings. I'm sorry for using the same word. Yeah, that was extremely interesting. Unfortunately, we had one raised hand by Agnia Smith there. Agnia, are you with us? Can you please add your question to the chat or Q&A? And there was also a question from Guljana from ICF Kazakhstan. Okay, and this is a question, she asked if she is able to ask in Russian, so I'm translating her question. So she was a little bit late and she asked when the new markers, PCC markers, I do hope, because she says just markers, but we have PCC markers. So when the PCC markers will be available? Can you please answer?
Yes. So the PCC markers are being shared incrementally with our community over the next few weeks, and they will be available to all credential holders and all members by October 21st. So by next week, everyone within our community will have the updated PCC markers.
And I also wanted to inform you that chapter leaders have already received the markers, and most of them are already working on the translation.
That's
so
great.
I really do hope that you will receive English version and local language version at the same time, or you will start with English version and then in very short time you will receive the local version as well. Yeah,
that's right. Well, we are very pleased as we release the updated PCC markers. We are releasing them not only in English, but we're also releasing them in French, in German, in Portuguese, and in Spanish. So those languages are already developed and ready to roll out. And we look forward and are so grateful for chapters who are working to translate those in additional languages as well. It's such a valuable asset to our community, and we are so grateful for the work that chapters are doing to help us in that.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm just addressing this thank you message to all the chapters because they're really doing a great job in this translation area.
Oh, yes.
We also have a question. Guljan would like to check if she understood correctly that in the first 6 months of 2021, the CKA will be the same.
That's correct. Yes. So we will launch the updated exam in the second half of 2021. We will provide a more detailed date as soon as that's available. We don't know exactly what date that will launch at this point, but it will be in the second half of 2021. Until that point, anybody going through the credentialing process will take the existing CKA. So that will be in use until we transition over to the updated exam.
Yeah. Does it mean that assessors on the PCC level will be using the current version of PCC markers by the end of June 2021?
Yes, that's correct. Okay. So we are gonna transition both the coach knowledge assessment, or the CKA, and the performance evaluation at the same time. So when we launch the updated CKA, that's also the time that we will use the updated PCC markers for performance evaluation as well.
Okay, thank you. And maybe that is the same question, but let's try to answer it. It's asked in a little bit different way. Agne asks, would you suggest to wait until markers are really ready in native languages as well, and then apply for taking a PCC exam? I think it's a little bit, okay, yeah, so your perspective.
Yeah, so the updated PCC markers will be used to assess performance evaluation when we launch the updated CKA. So those will be the criteria by which performance evaluations will be evaluated. So right now we offer the PCC markers in the very languages that we are publishing the updated markers. So I would go on and encourage individuals to start becoming familiar with the PCC markers in advance, because they will be used starting the second half of 2021 for the performance evaluation.
Okay, thank you. I have one more question from Mims. Hi, Mims. Thank you for joining us today. Maria Stajkova, former ICF Bulgaria chapter president. Will the credentialed coaches be expected to take the new CKA in the next credential renewal?
Great question, Mims, and it's great. I'm glad to know that you're on the call today. So that's a great question. Individuals who are renewing a credential will not be expected to take the updated CKA, just as they are not expected to take the CKA when they're renewing their credential now. The only individuals who will be required to take the updated coach knowledge assessment are individuals who are applying for an ICF credential for the first time, as well as those who are applying for an upgraded credential. So if someone is moving from ACC to PCC, they will likely be required to take the updated coach knowledge assessment. But if they are renewing an existing credential, they will not have to take the CKA.
Okay, great. That is important. Yeah, that's also was very important to know from me. And Marina Salt, thanks you for the presentation, Carrie. And I guess, Marina, that Carrie has just answered to your question. If not, just let us know. And we have a question from Renata. Thank you a lot for systemic presentation. The slides would be highly appreciated if it's possible to receive it. Would be easy to copy paste the link from the presentation. So Renata, the presentation will be shared with your chapters. So, and I think that at the beginning of the next week, they will be available. Just approach your chapter leaders and ask them where you can find the presentation. Inta, what about ACC credential and CKA after June 2021? What about ACC? Inta, what do you mean? What about ACC credential and CKA after? So there will be the new CKA after June 2021, and with the credential, everything goes on the same way. Am I right?
So yes. So if anybody who is applying for the ACC starting the second half of 2021 will take the updated coach knowledge assessment. I hope that's answering the question.
And if not, just let us know. Okay, Marina asks, and I need to translate the question. So the coach completed ACTP program in 2020. And is going to apply to PCC at the end of 2021. Does this coach need to get an additional mentoring using new PCC markers?
You know, most likely not. I mean, they absolutely don't need to have new mentor coaching for the purpose of the credential application. And as I mentioned, if you look at the updated core competencies vis-a-vis the original core competencies, and very, very similarly, the updated PCC markers versus the original PCC markers, most of the changes have been to the organization and the structure of them, not to the core, not to the concepts that that are included in the competencies and markers. The concepts are very much the same. The content is very much the same. They're just organized a little bit differently. And there have been some slight refinements to the language to make them a little easier to interpret and understand. So that mentor coaching that that coach received through their ACTP program will still equip them and help develop them and prepare them for coaching at the PCC level, despite the updated PCC markers. I hope that answers the question.
Yep. Thank you. And we have just 2 minutes to the end of our webinar today. I'll just quickly answer to the question regarding the video, the recording of our webinar today as well. It will be available through your chapters. Please require your chapters and they will share the links to the recordings with you. And the last question we could answer right now, if there will be more, please, I will copy paste them and then Carrie will answer to them and we will share them with your chapters. When we expect to get new PCC markers, is it possible to get to know them in 2020? Yeah, you will get them in 10 days period of time. Yeah, so be ready, and please read member update letters because you are receiving them on a monthly basis, and all this essential information comes to our members through member update letters and letters from the ICF local. So they are coming just in 10 days. Yes. Okay, we are receiving a lot of thank you messages to you, Carrie, addressed to you for the presentation and for answering the questions. Again, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you all for the invitation, the opportunity to be with you today. It's a really great opportunity, and like I said, it's a subject that I love to talk about. So thank you for the great questions, and please feel free to email Ala or email me directly if you have more questions, and we're happy to provide additional guidance and support. And thank you all for all that you do to help us spread the word about this and so many other things that are happening across the ICF. You are such a valuable part of our community and our organization, and we are so grateful for the work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. Have a great day ahead. Some of our participants from Kazakhstan, have a great night and have a great evening for all others. Yeah, thank you again.
Bye. Thank you.